Hey everyone, what's up? It's Rachel here. Hello from Miami. And today we've got a very special AMA. Today we are joined with Daniel. He's the president and co-founder of Move Network, and Evan, who's the VP of Legal at Move Network. Hey guys, how are you?
Hey, great.
Well, so happy to chat with you today, Rachel.
Yeah, I'm so happy to chat with you guys also. And Evan, you're here in Miami also for Bitcoin 2021, so that's awesome.
Absolutely. I've been here all week. Had a little bit of R&R as well. You know, I live in Toronto where COVID's been pretty depressing over the last 14 months. So it's good to get away and get some good sunshine.
Right. And Daniel, you are joining us from Toronto, correct?
Exactly. The home of the Leafs, unfortunately.
Nice. Okay. Well, happy to have you both with us today. And thanks again to the audience for joining us for this AMA. We're going to get started. I just want to remind the audience, please send your questions our way. Both Daniel and Evan are happy to answer anything. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Okay. So first question, Daniel and Evan, can you explain what Move Network is?
Yeah. Absolutely, Rachel. Move Network is geared to be one of the largest NFT aggregators. It's an ecosystem platform that consists of Move Market and Move Chain. Move essentially addresses the distance between a user, digital assets, and ownership.
Okay, got it. Can we talk a little bit about the problems that Move Network is solving today? Because obviously, there's a lot of NFT platforms out there. I want to know what differentiates Move from, you know, the rest of the platforms out there.
Yeah, absolutely. The explosive growth of NFT platforms, there's definitely obstacles that arise, including little oversight related to verification process and the high demand of decentralized trading. So Move essentially has been forced to solve these obstacles, giving creators and companies a way to stream revenue, and it's targeted, like I said, to be the largest NFT aggregator. So that's where we're at.
Got it. Very cool. Can we talk a little bit about Move Chain? Because that's something obviously very unique, and I want to know more about you know, the technology behind that and what it does.
Well, most digital artists are interested, as you know, creating NFTs on the Ethereum blockchain. However, the cost of minting NFT on Ethereum can be hundreds of dollars. And if you're not a popular digital artist, it might be hard to sell your product. So Move Chain actually takes into account the creator in that sense. And we're solving this problem by building it from the ground up, keeping the creator in mind.
Got it. So basically, does Move Chain make it easier for creators to create their NFTs versus, you know, using Ethereum or Binance Smart Chain even?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. So I think the apps that we've been kind of developing within the chain itself, one, the primary focus is security, with number two being the fees associated with it, because as Daniel alluded to, the fees and security in Ethereum can sometimes be suspect. So those are kind of the two, or the genesis that supported the development behind creating Move Chain in the first place. And the dApps that we've created within it and the tools for kind of the, we'll say the marketplace, so to speak, within it, makes it kind of a seamless integration for anyone to really create any NFT they want.
Cool. Speaking of creating any NFT, what NFTs does Move focus on specifically? I read some news recently about Move helping innovate in the film industry. So is that kind of the focus as of now, or are we talking about any type of NFTs?
At first, I think that our partnership with H Collective is something to speak about. We're definitely focused in the film industry just because, you know, it's $100 billion in revenue. So whether it comes to creating NFTs that relate to Darth Vader telling Luke Skywalker about his fatherhood, or Thor coming into saving Wakanda, for instance, one of my favorite opportunities, we definitely really want to focus in this industry specifically.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, we're kind of sticking within the industries that we know and we have large, significant connections to. So entertainment is obviously one of those. So starting with Hollywood and then transferring into other ones like art as well as gaming and esports. So for myself, I have a pretty significant background in the esports and gaming space. So using that knowledge in my network to help leverage that and introduce those clients and those partners into this industry for really additional fan engagement properties.
Got it. Yeah. We're going to take a question from the audience real quick. So Ash is asking, what would you do with an NFT that you can't physically own? Just assume you own something, but not having any values when the NFT craze goes away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe I can take this. And I think this question comes more to kind of the psychology behind crypto itself, behind holding something physical versus something digital. We're currently in this transition, particularly as it relates to younger generations, where we're transitioning into more of a digital world, where everything is kind of living on this sort of computer context, so to speak. So when you're looking at NFTs, it's really not too dissimilar or different at all than holding an actual trading card. So if you're looking at Dapper Labs and what they've done as it relates to Top Shot, let's take a LeBron James rookie card versus a LeBron James highlight that Top Shot has made. There's actually no difference. There's a limited number of them that are being created. And while you're able to go out and print a photo of it, that doesn't give it any value versus owning the actual highlight where there's a limited amount with the serial number that lives on a blockchain, et cetera. So that's how I kind of like to approach those types of questions.
Got it. I'm curious to know a little bit about these film NFTs that you have with is it H Collective? Can you explain what a film NFT actually is, Daniel or Evan?
Yeah, Evan, do you want to hit it off, and then I'll piggyback off of that.
Sure, absolutely. So our partnership with H Collective, they're one of the, I guess, largest production companies or boutique production companies based in Hollywood, owning significant rights to films like Brightburn, which is a top, quasi-horror film, I'll call it, thriller itself. And what we're doing is we're taking certain clips and turning those into NFTs, so to speak, where we can then, for fans of that film, can own a piece of that film history. So going back to another thing that Dan had alluded to earlier about whether it's Thor landing in Wakanda or Darth Vader letting Luke know that he's his father, having true fans being able to own those little pieces of movie history just adds a new revenue stream for the industry as a whole, but also gives it a very new fan engagement tool that can turn into a digital collectible and actually be worth value.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm curious. Daniel, were you going to say something real quick?
No, I just think that in terms of the movie industry, so much of our personality and characteristics and who we are as a person are grown in movies, and so really yelling and going through that point of entry as Move Network expands, I think is just one way that I think that we're setting ourselves up for success.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I also think it's really unique because I haven't personally heard a lot about or anything really about film NFTs. And so that's why I was curious to know what exactly that is. I think that's really cool, especially for people that are film buffs. They can own a piece of that, a piece of their favorite movie.
Exactly. And like you said, the industry with NFTs, I don't want to say that it's saturated, but there are a lot of platforms coming up. And what we're doing is finding our little niche that's very separate and hasn't been touched yet.
Right. But I'm curious to know, is there a token associated with Move? How do people actually purchase these NFTs and own them?
Definitely. We have our own token called Moved, MOVD. And that allows governance and issuance in terms of our platform and the ecosystem within the Move market.
Okay.
Yep. And we hope to list the token around August 1st. We're currently in talks with a few exchanges to do our first token listing, and hopefully that'll be coming live in the very next couple of weeks, and you'll be the first to know.
Awesome. That's exciting. I can't wait. I just want to remind the audience, please send us your questions. We've got two really great experts here. They know everything about NFTs. So yeah, send your questions our way. So I just wanted to go back. So right now you mentioned that Move is focused specifically on the film industry. But moving forward, Evan, I think you mentioned something about esports and other industries that Move may be focused on next. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a natural transition to cover kind of the broader entertainment sector as a whole, particularly given just our connections and our ability to source those kind of valuable fan engagement tools within the space. So something that I was reading about this morning as well, which I knew about, is you're actually kind of seeing this already, where you had a few other companies really interested in producing NFTs for esports and gaming. So we hope to be one of the first groups to do it. We have a pretty big announcement coming up in the next couple of weeks, which I don't want to share just yet, but it is related to esports and gaming, so definitely stay tuned.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to take another question from the audience. Three Musketeers is asking, where can we purchase them? I'm assuming the NFTs. Where can they purchase the NFTs?
Absolutely. So you'll be able to purchase NFTs on the Move Chain network once that goes live, which will be very, very soon. And alternative, you're referring to as well, the MoveD token, that will be going live on our initial token listing, which will be August 1st on an exchange, which is just, that has not been officially confirmed yet. We're currently out taking bids from a few exchanges, but hope for it to be going live soon.
Got it. Cool. Okay, I'm going to take another question from the audience real quick. Stephen X Alchemy is asking, tell us more about Move Chain and why did you decide to create your own chain? I think that's a really interesting question also. So
absolutely. And that's something we touched on a little bit earlier, but I think the fundamental reason why we decided to develop our own chain is, one, to have more ownership over what we are building and be able to decentralize that to give everyone who is participating from a MoveD token to have governance and a say in what we're building and how we're doing it. So from that perspective, most NFT platforms right now are being built on Ethereum. The two fundamental problems with that are, one, fees, and two, security. So what we've done is built our own chain in order to, I guess, make those two aspects much greater.
Mm-hmm. Daniel, did you want to add anything to that?
I think Evans spoke for me there. So yeah,
right.
Definitely. I think it's just in terms of, speaking in terms of creating something for the creators themselves. I think it's very important right now where they're building on Ethereum, and the gas fees are something that we really want to touch on.
Right. So I'm curious to know, first of all, why did you create Move Network? Is there a personal story behind it? Because like I said, this is obviously a very unique platform. I don't know if you guys are film buffs and you decided that, this is something that we need to see more of. And then secondly, in terms of Move Chain, was that challenging to create your own, rather than doing it on Ethereum? Was that challenging as well?
Yeah. In terms of a personal story, a serial entrepreneur, and I was in the augmented reality space. So the elimination between a distant being able to see something kind of transcends into this space with the NFT platform and Move Chain is giving ownership back to the creator. And so when speaking to Evan and Adam, I think it just was a natural progression over a beer. And we decided to kind of move forward that way.
Right. And then, Evan, I don't know if you want to speak about, or Daniel, basically, because we're seeing a lot of these, a lot of platforms just choose to use Ethereum or Binance Smart Chain. Were there any challenges that you want to talk about when creating Move Chain?
Considering the NFT kind of industry right now is still very new, obviously from a developmental perspective, it was quite difficult to actually, I think the hardest part was actually finding people who have the technical experience to do so. While Daniel and myself, we are both very much, I will say, crypto entrepreneurs and been in this space for quite some time with some deep knowledge in it. Neither of us are developers or coders themselves. So finding the talent to actually be able to facilitate the development of the project was probably the most biggest hurdle is so far to date. But once, we built an extremely good team with that are super technical and super good to work with. So from that respect, once we were able to cross over that hurdle, it's been smooth sailing since.
Got it. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. I'm going to take a few more questions from the audience. So Three Musketeers is asking, are we talking about the international movie industry as well? That's a great question.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's kind of The best part about crypto and the blockchain industry is it's very much borderless. It's not situated to a specific region or specific place. And with that same ethos and that same genesis is how we're viewing our own product itself, where the movie industry is very global. You have fans all over the world, and we aim to tap into different markets from Bollywood, Hollywood, internationally to Korea, as well as Asia itself. So very much global in how we're in our perspective.
Are you focusing first on one specific market? I mean, are you focusing on the American market or the Canadian market first, and then you're going to expand, or are you starting globally?
Absolutely. I think to be frank, we are doing this. We're viewing this from a very global perspective, but we're also viewing this from who in our network do we have most access to right away that we can leverage to come on and help support our own ecosystem. So obviously going after the low-hanging fruit is kind of the natural course of action, and then expanding outwardly from there.
Mm-hmm. Right. That makes sense. Speaking of that, I'm going to take another question from the audience. Someone is asking, how is the Move network going to accommodate their community? So if we can talk a little bit about the Move community and how you guys engage and interact with that community and the ecosystem there.
Absolutely. And, maybe I'll touch on this initially before handing it over to Daniel, but we're very community driven. We have a great Telegram group. We have a great Twitter following as well. But the main fundamental reason why we actually created the Move chain, our own chain in the first place, was for the community and keeping the community in mind, because by allowing them to control and govern it, the chain itself gives much more freedom to the developers and the artists who want to create NFTs. So by, using the MoveD token to transact in the space also gives you the opportunity to govern with what's going on. So with that respect, that's how we plan on accommodating the community, and why we actually went out to build our own chain as opposed to building on another platform.
Mm-hmm. Are you able? Oh, go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, no, community is key, and we take every person's thought into perspective while building our Move network, because we're better together than isolated in that sense. So even incentivizing individuals within our platform to stake our Move token, I think is something that just keeps loyalty and even just being transparent in the process, such as our product roadmap and updates when we get updates. I think that just allows the community to understand that we're in it together.
Got it. Daniel, you actually said something really interesting that I wanted to ask as well. You mentioned staking and obviously incentivizing the community members. So is that a feature that community members have with the token? Yes.
Absolutely, along with like community governance in terms of how we move as pun intended as a corporation, and also things like blind box discovery and NFT discoveries. I think that's just something just to keep individuals loyal to our movement. Yeah,
definitely. Okay, audience members, keep sending your questions our way. We're getting a lot, so I'm going to actually take a few now. Let's see here. Someone is asking, how many movie IPs from Hollywood? This sounds so exciting.
We currently have, go ahead, Dan.
No, I was just about to say, like, in terms of numbers, I'm not sure. We have a various amount of movie IPs because of our strategic partnership with H Collective that's opening up doors with other production film industries. So you can kind of piggyback off of that, Evan.
No, that's it. Yeah, we have access to hundreds of thousands of various IPs across the Hollywood and traditional entertainment landscape. And, in the coming weeks, we'll be issuing press release after press release announcing all of them. So definitely stay tuned and get excited about this.
Yeah, even one of our advisors is Sid Gaines, right? So his experience and his depth as a Hollywood mogul, being like, he was 10 years on the board of Marvel Entertainment, for instance. It just allows us the opportunity to get different types of Hollywood IP.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I just wanted to point out, it was a recent announcement, the partnership with H Collective. Wasn't it like this week or last week, Daniel?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah, so it's fairly recent. And I'm sure given the uniqueness of Move Network, I'm sure we're going to see many more announcements to come, with the movie industry. I'd also be curious to find out if, you're going to have any celebrities join the community and start, engaging with the community there. That would be really cool to see some celebrities join.
Well, you can't have Hollywood without celebrities. So definitely, we have a couple of people that we're talking to that we're about to announce, and very, very stoked in terms of that process. Also, being in the home of in Toronto, the 6th, there's some other artists that we're talking to here that Move Network can we'll see.
Yeah, I'm excited. Okay, I'm going to go back to audience questions because we're getting quite a few. And just a reminder, audience, please send us your questions. Happy to answer everything, or at least mostly everything. Okay, so next question from the audience. Brian is asking, what are the competitive advantages of Move?
Yeah, so I think from my perspective, the number one competitive advantage for us is the fact that we're actually building the project on our own chain, as opposed to going out to an external chain where we can actually help the community itself control the decentralization of the platform and actually give governance into their hands to decide what they want to do and how they actually want to interact with developers, NFT artists, and et cetera, when it comes to actually minting the various IPs that we're going to offer and that they're going to offer to the community itself.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I would say also just piggyback off of that it's content agnostic for individuals that want to upload their own content. There's distribution on demand and high scalability, low fees, as mentioned on our Move chain, and community governance.
Daniel, interesting point you just mentioned. So you said it's content agnostic for individuals that want to upload their own content. So what exactly does that mean? Are we talking about independent filmmakers that have their own films that want to turn those into NFTs?
Correct. And also the file itself. If it's a 3D model, if it's a video, if it's a JPEG, content agnostic in that sense.
Cool. Okay. So actually, I have a question based off that as well. I think we're seeing a trend now with NFTs and the emergence of physical and digital NFTs. Are you guys thinking of possibly making these NFTs physical somehow? I don't know how, but I mean, is that an option for the future? Because I think that'd be pretty cool.
Absolutely. So this is something that we've been discussing internally about, but we do have such a robust roadmap right now that we do want to take a step back. Something that entrepreneurs tend to do that kind of gets them in trouble is when you try to do too many things at once. So we have a pretty significant roadmap ahead of us. We have considered this, but for now, we're going to put that in our back pocket and just continue to keep our heads down and develop. That's something we will revisit in the coming months for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. That's great. Okay, so a few other questions from the audience. I'm going to take those right now. So Steven is asking, Blind Box, how does that work? Are they airdropped to Move token holders?
Evan, did you want to go on that? They are airdropped to Move token holders. You need a wallet address in order for that to happen. That's essentially it.
Okay, cool. Got it. And then here's another comment from an audience member who's saying, hope to see Marvel Hero on the Move Network platform in NFT form.
Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever. Yeah, we're in talks right now with a few production companies in Hollywood trying to get a few of those. So hopefully we'll be able to announce something really special soon. But I would love to see that on the platform as well.
Yeah, cool. Evan, you briefly touched on kind of like the roadmap and plans for the future. Are you able to discuss maybe some things that we can start getting excited for coming up that you guys want to implement into the network?
Absolutely. So we actually have a number of things coming up. There's actually a little bit too much to discuss on that note, but probably the number one thing is the actual launch of the product itself, letting the users and the community actually go on and start testing out the beta itself, and then preparing for the token listing, which is anticipated right now for August 1st. So we recently released our roadmap, I believe it was yesterday, to the community of the Medium post. So I do encourage everyone to take a look and go through it because it is quite robust, and feel free to reach out to me with any specific questions you might have about it.
Awesome. And Evan, if somebody did want to reach out to you, how are you on Twitter? You know, crypto Twitter is huge. Are you on that? Are you more of a Telegram person, or how did they reach out?
Telegram is perfect.
Okay.
Telegram is perfect. I always respond in our Move Telegram group. So any questions there, I'll be sure to respond to.
And what is the name of that group again on Telegram? Is it just Move Network?
You got it.
Okay, perfect. Easy to remember. Okay, so audience, keep sending us your questions. Just want to remind you guys. And then I have another question that we haven't really touched on yet that I'm curious to know. Obviously, with any trend that we see in the blockchain and crypto space, there are challenges involved, especially when it comes to getting mainstream adoption. So, you know, obviously there's a lot of hype around NFTs, but because you guys are focused on film NFTs, what are the challenges there that we still need to overcome in order for this concept to kind of resonate with the mainstream?
I first off think that maintaining a community instead of just being a place to sell products is something that's essential in the NFT marketplace. You have so many platforms that are just there just to sell stuff rather than an ecosystem and then making that live. So I think that's one of the things that NFT platforms really need to overcome, is not just to be that hype and that trend, but to piggyback off of individuals within that ecosystem and grow it that way.
Mm-hmm. Evan, did you want to add anything to that about challenges?
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head yourself too, Rich, when you said it's a matter of adoption itself. Right now we have, like I said, my background is primarily in the esports space, and there's still always kind of this dichotomy or this distinction between older generations not understanding how younger generations want to watch other people play video games. Whereas here we have kind of a similar genesis of now people are trying to understand, how can I own a digital collectible versus a physical collectible? And there's this psychological thing about getting over that. So using Hollywood as something as a baseline to help move that forward, where everyone can already understand it, knows it, is familiar with it, and can actually own a piece of history, I think actually helps make that adoption much easier.
Right. So based on what you just said, Evan, I'm curious to know, are there challenges when you're pitching this to actors and companies, production companies? Are there any challenges there in terms of getting them to understand the concept of Move Network? I mean, this is such a new concept, and a lot of people hear blockchain and crypto, and maybe they aren't on board. So how has it been challenging? For instance, obviously you have this great partnership with H Collective, but let's talk about the challenges there in getting these partnerships. What are people saying? What's the feedback?
Absolutely. There are definitely a lot of challenges involved with it, but it always comes back to kind of the fundamental aspects of why we're building this and why it's so good for the industry. Because Hollywood, particularly as it relates to COVID and how it's decimated their bottom line, NFTs are providing them a very new entry point to, one, get new fans, create novel revenue streams, as well as new fan engagement tools. And once you are able to outline that from that perspective, they totally get it.
Mm-hmm. So just based off of that, I've got another question, because I can keep going on and on, but we're talking a lot about Hollywood, and obviously that's, you know, American mindset Hollywood, but maybe, I don't know if other companies in other regions like Europe or Asia or Canada, if they're more open to something like Move Network and NFTs. Do you have any feedback on that?
No, absolutely. No, absolutely. And I think when we keep saying Hollywood, we are using it interchangeably with the entire film industry and content industry as a whole, because we are in deep conversations with several Bollywood production companies as well as production companies based in Korea and the broader Asia. So it's very much global in how we're approaching.
And are you seeing other regions kind of more open to NFTs versus some that may be a little bit more closed, or is that too, I don't know, have you not seen that yet?
To be honest, not really. I think the same hurdles and the same feedback is fairly consistent across the board. I think crypto itself is scaling and blockchain is scaling at such a rapid pace that everyone knows about it at the very least, while many people now are actually becoming very well versed on the subject. So it makes those conversations much easier.
Got it. Cool. Okay, I'm going to take another question from an audience member. He's saying, Brian is asking, can you please highlight the future plans of Move? Obviously, we touched on this a bit, but I don't know, is there anything specific that you guys want to highlight that we can see coming up pretty soon that you can talk about now?
Well, I think I'll hand over to you in a second, Dan, but I think some of the biggest things that we have coming up relate to some of our esports engagements coming up in the next few weeks, as well as our token sale in the beginning of August, which will be listing on a tier 1 exchange, which we're super, super excited for. But on top of both those is the actual release of the project and getting this into the hands of the community to actually play around with and start minting their own NFTs for sale.
Mm-hmm. Daniel, did you want to add?
Oh, no, he definitely answered all three of the things that I wanted to say. So, yeah, just stay tuned for August 1st and the launch of our platform by the end of the month.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, you said a tier 1 exchange. I don't think you can mention which exchange right now, correct?
Not just yet.
Okay. So basically on August 1st, is that information going to be out there in public then?
Yeah. So fingers crossed it may be August 2nd, but August 1st will probably be the date.
Okay, cool. And Evan, you were mentioning esports. What about plans to do anything with artists? I mean, I feel like that's when you think of NFTs, the mainstream at least, they think artwork. So is that something in store for Move Network just to focus on?
Absolutely. We actually, so in next week, we have a big partnership announcement coming out with a pretty significant group of artists. So I can't touch on that yet because of confidentiality reasons, but definitely you'll be hearing about it next week. And art is the next kind of transition into the broader entertainment ecosystem that we plan to enter into.
Very cool. Okay, I'm going to take another question from the audience. So someone is asking, can you tell us the motivations and benefits for investors to hold your Move token in the long term? That's a great question that we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah, sure. And maybe to kick this off, the number one thing that I look for when I'm evaluating any sort of blockchain or crypto company, and when you're looking at this from an investment perspective like this individual is, it relates to the tokenomics. And I would, I'd be pretty confident in saying we have one of the more compelling tokenomics out there, so to speak, when it relates to where the tokens are being distributed to vesting periods for the investors. So definitely that would be the number one reason for me.
Daniel, did you want to comment on that?
No, it's definitely for investors and anyone part of the NFT movement. I think it's just something to support this digital revolution that's happening within this world. And so by piggybacking and looking at our token economics, our product roadmap, we and our team and a list of advisors with a project that is actually solving a solution within the film industry. I think that's a reason why
right.
And would hold on to Move.
Yeah, awesome. And audience members also, he's just commenting, seed round with 1.5 million raised. Wow, looking forward to the IEO.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, we recently closed a $1.5 million seed round, and we're actually opening up our round 1/Series A, raising a little bit more to continue the development of the project, which is going quite well as well. But thank you for the nice comment.
Yeah, comments like that are great. And actually, I didn't know about the 1.5 million raised, so congratulations. That's awesome. Another question from an audience member, Stephen is asking, truly endangered masterpiece, TEM, how does that work? Can you give an example?
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, no, so truly endangered masterpiece is in the name itself. There's a limited version amount that piece, that NFT can be displayed. So let's just say you have 10 instances. Every time that instance is used, it's knocked off. So you have 10, it becomes more endangered over the process of it being used.
Yeah, so to summarize that, it's really our version of limited edition drops, but super limited as it relates to mostly, significant moments in the space. So if you want to take a traditional sports example, because I know you're looking for one, we can take, Michael Jordan's shot over Elo against Cleveland to go to the NBA Finals. That would be a very significant moment in history where there'd be a very limited number of those minted on our platform for users to hold and be one of the top digital collectibles.
Cool. A question just came to my mind that we really haven't touched on. How are these NFTs priced? I mean, how are they, how do you know the worth of these NFTs? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Well, we take the creator into account, obviously, and the governance aspect of the Move token and the community within itself. I think with those two things, we come to an agreement in terms of the value of an NFT.
Yeah, and then on top of that, it's really going to be the communicate that dictate what the value is, and that's not something that we're shy from, and it's something we realize, because in the end, it's really going to be the marketplace that dictates what something is worth, just like a traditional marketplace, except ours is decentralized.
Got it. Yeah, very cool. Okay, another question from an audience member. Brian is asking, do you think the NFT momentum will keep going? That's a great question. I wanted to ask that as well.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I think that is a great question. And this is something, again, we kind of alluded to earlier, when you're thinking about what's kind of happening in the world right now at scale, which is this transition from the physical to the digital. Whether it's your office, going paperless and every piece of paper now going onto their system, versus most younger people consuming all of their content through digital means. This is no different than holding a physical card, except it's now on a digital. It's on a digital platform and it's contained on the blockchain itself. So from this respect, I think the further we get along with this, NFTs they're not even in the first inning of where we think they will be in the coming years.
Right. It's interesting because I do think COVID helped boost the popularity of NFTs, because obviously we're living in a digital world right now. It's just interesting to think that as everyone gets vaccinated and we start resuming normalcy, will that digital world stick? So that's why I was asking about the physical aspect around this, because I am starting to see that as a trend as well, where we've got these physical NFT pop-up galleries showing up. And Evan, you were just here in Miami last night. There was a physical NFT gallery here, wasn't there, that you attended?
Absolutely, there was, and that's and I think in that respect too, what they're trying to do is cradle and be attractive to kind of those individuals who they're not so sure about this yet, versus those who are also have an interest in this space. So it's a good medium between both. So it's something we are looking into, but it's definitely not something we're prioritizing right now. We're going to stick to our core competency and just continue to build with our heads down and not worry so much about the noise around us.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, obviously, I think the best projects out there focus on that one goal initially, rather than having a million things that they're focused on and then end up potentially failing just because they're focused on too much. So that makes a lot of sense. Great. So, okay, audience members, keep sending us your questions. We've still got a little bit of time here with Evan and Daniel. So next question that I had, okay, I just lost it. Actually, let's take, oh wait, no, let's not take, okay. So next question that I have in terms of NFTs and adoption, what do you think, moving forward, other trends besides, the physical NFTs that we talked about? Are we going to see any other trends that you think will develop moving forward?
I believe Ready Player One is going to happen. The metaverse, where it's just like the sum of all virtual worlds put together, augmented reality, virtual reality, and NFT. So I think that is going to be a trend, specifically in Asia. It's happening a lot right now, and where NFT falls into that, at like a digital museum, for instance, I think is something to look out for.
Yeah, That's a good point. And actually, and we didn't touch on that yet, and that is a trend that I'm seeing as well. These 3D marketplaces for NFTs. I think that's really cool, and that's something that we can look forward to with Move. Okay, so I'm going to go back to audience questions because we have a few more here. Someone is asking, how will your project generate profits / income to sustain, and what is the revenue model? How will it benefit your project and your investors?
Evan, did you want to touch on that?
Sure. So I guess it's like any other marketplace where it functions within both transaction fee on any NFT sold, which will go back to kind of the holders and the investors themselves. But everything is going to really be based around the MoveD token itself once we do launch, and that'll facilitate kind of all aspects from governments as well as kind of from financial and fees.
Cool.
And the great thing of having it on a blockchain, it's transparent in that process. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think also just to point this out, because I think it's a really important point about Move Network, is the Move chain. I think that's one of the, I mean, obviously the idea of NFTs and film, that's really a unique concept. But I think the Move chain is a really important aspect here with this project, just because it's your own technology that you're using. And obviously you chose to do that versus Ethereum or Binance Smart Chain or anything else out there. So in terms of everything we've been chatting about today, I personally think that the Move chain is one of the most interesting parts of the Move network.
Absolutely, and I would fully agree with you there, because the whole concept behind it too is we want to really create a centralized platform that is community driven with low fees and high security.
Yeah, and I think it's a trend that we will start seeing more people creating their own chains versus using Ethereum or anything else out there. And so I think that the Move chain is just going to kind of offset that trend. It's really early, and I think that that's great to see it. So I'm curious to know more about that when you guys can discuss it more, I guess.
Absolutely, and it's also keeping the other chains in mind, and having that cross-chain functionality is one of the benefits I think that we're doing here at Move Chain. We just don't want to silo ourselves, but we want to bring in everyone as an NFT aggregator with low fees and security to benefit the community that way.
Yeah, that's a really important point, because obviously the blockchain ecosystem is inclusive and open. So Daniel, that's a great point that you bring up. Audience, I just want to remind you guys, please send us your questions. We've still got a few minutes. And so I just want to open this up to Evan, to you guys. Are there any additional comments that you want to add that I might not have touched on or the audience haven't asked yet?
Something that I would love to ask the audience, because we are so community focused, is please join our Telegram group, join our Twitter, and let us know what NFTs you would like us to start minting on the platform. What movies do you love? What gaming titles do you love? What do you want to see? How do you see the evolving nature of the NFT space? And we'll do our best to help support that.
Cool. Daniel, did you want to add any additional comments?
Yeah. We'd love your input, but we'd also love you to join Move Network. We're growing as a team, and if you have, a passion in this space, and you see that you can contribute towards our movement, we're happy to take you in.
Cool. Okay, we've got a question coming in from the audience that I'm going to take real quick. Someone is asking, what makes Move Network unique from other NFT tokens? I mean, obviously we've been discussing this, but was there something that you guys wanted to add there besides the obvious?
So maybe just to summarize the points for maybe people who have just started tuning in, I think the key thing here is the fact that one, we're building out our own chain in order to support the ecosystem. Two, we're focused on really diversified and unique IP across the entertainment ecosystem. Three, we're building out a metaverse for all of this to actually function and play in. Three, or four, or five even, something that we haven't touched on yet, which I just want to highlight, which I can't get into too much depth into, is actually decentralized streaming, and how that's going to support the influencer and content creator community to not only mint NFTs, but actually bring their content to life and give them full ownership over it, as opposed to sharing fees with other streaming platforms, etc. And that's something that is you can see in our roadmap that I don't want to touch on too much here, but definitely will be something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah. Wow. I'm excited to hear more about decentralized streaming, and that is something we haven't talked about. So, Evan, are you or Daniel, are you guys able to say anything more about it now, or is it just we've got to wait and find out about that?
Well, I think we put out a lot today, but we're going to keep our lips a little bit more sealed on that to, help keep the momentum as well as like stay focused on the next step ahead.
Right. Cool. So just a comment from an audience member. They're saying it would be great if we have scarce NFT as airdrops awards.
That's what TEM is for.
Exactly.
Awesome. Cool. Well, if we don't have any other questions coming in from the audience, I think we're going to wrap this up here. Daniel and Evan, did you have any additional comments that you wanted to add that we might not have discussed yet?
No, but nothing else really to add, but more just, thanks so much for having us. Thanks, for all the listeners coming on, and please join our Telegram group, join our Twitter page, and just to stay on top and stay connected as we continue this journey to bringing NFTs to Hollywood and beyond.
Great. Wonderful. Cool. Well, Daniel and Evan, thank you both. It's been a real pleasure. I'm really excited for Move Network. I can't wait until August 1st. I'm going to mark my calendar. And you guys watching us should mark your calendar as well and connect with both Daniel and Evan. Join the Telegram group and remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And join us next time. So thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you next time.